Welcome back, everybody. In this video we're going to switch gears a little bit and focus less on iOS for layer 2 VPN and more on iOS XR. So we're going to do something simple on XR, or we're just going to do a simple local switching on XR10 between, R6 and R7, and get them squared away. But before I dive into the actual config, I do want to preface that XR does not support layer 2 VPN in the data plane. It's the only variation for the most part that it doesn't support. It'll do layer 3 VPN, multicast VPN, and pretty much everything else in the data plane. There are other things like Lisp and VXLAN that it does support. However, data plane functionality isn't there. So XRV 9K, I haven't demoed this stuff as extensively because the XRV 9Ks take a lot more resources and stuff like that, but the configuration for the most part is the same. So with that being said, we won't be able to test data plane connectivity. Well, I'll show you the config and how that comes together. It's very similar to that of iOS routers, so it's not that much of a stretch. And then we'll flip over and we'll start doing some point-to-point pseudo-wire connectivity like we have so far with interface pseudo-wires and the L2VPN constructs. Although XR, you immediately dive into the layer 2 VPN configuration mode. The key differentiator between the two is with the interfaces that are going to be running in XR. So the connection from XR10 to router 6, for example, gig 0002, that will be, you have to specify that it's going to be a layer 2 transport, or layer 2 circuit. So we'll take care of that right away. Let's go ahead and dive into the config. So on XR10, we're going to go in here and log in. And we'll go to global config, and we're going to type in interface gig 00002, type in L2 transport, and hit the enter key. And then we'll no shut it. And do the same thing for gig 3. That'll be L2 transport and no shut it. Now, I will preface this by saying that there is a way to do sub interfaces and things like that, but when you're doing the sub interface, you're doing the encapsulation and stuff like that. I'm not really going to spend a whole lot of time doing the layer 2 VPN aspect of it with XR because it's just not, there's not a whole lot there to work with. So with that being said, it's one of those things where as long as you understand the construct, that's the bigger piece to this whole puzzle. So I'll show you the config for some of the basic layer 2 VPN connectivity, but even in the service provider lab, the most that they can test you on is in the control plane, because that will work. So I'm going to go ahead and jump out of the way again. I'm going to exit out. I'm going to commit that config so the interfaces will come online. So do show IP interface brief. We can see gig 2 and gig 3 are up now. And I'm going to go underneath the L2 VPN construct. And then underneath here, we need to specify that we're going to be dealing with, you do see that there's a bridge option here in auto discovery. So a lot of the same features and capabilities are there, but we're going to be dealing with an Xconnect, and then we're going to Xconnect, and then we're going to give it a group name, and we're just going to type this in point to point. And then underneath here, we have to specify what it's going to be. This is going to be a point-to-point connectivity, and then we have to define the cross-connect. So here we're just going to say local. Underneath here, we get to specify the interfaces. We're going to type an interface. In this case here will be gig 00002 and 3. So if we do a show config, you can see that that's the syntax. Very, very simple. And we're going to go ahead and commit that config. And that's pretty much all there really is to it. So if we do a show L2VPN and we do a xconnect and hit the enter key, you're going to see that the interfaces are up and up. However, there won't be any data pass through. So if we were to go to say R6 and host name is R6 and an interface gig 000, no shut, IP address of 10.6.7.6/24. Go ahead and stretch this out just a little bit more so that there's the syslog messages are single line. Do show IP interface brief. do show run interface gig 0/0. Good deal. So we're going to do right that, and then we're going to go over to router 7, and we'll go to global config. Hostname is R7. Interface gig 0/2. IP address is going to be 10.6.7.7/24. We're going to no shut it. We'll get that guy online here in just a moment. There it goes. And what we'll do is a quick ping to 10.6.7.6, and the ping will fail. Oh, it passed. I wasn't expecting that. Let's do a show ARP. Interesting. Okay. Well, apparently this will work. That's news to me. Show version, this is 6.1 code? 613? 613. Okay. Well, color me surprised, because that normally doesn't work when I do that test. Well, layer 2 connectivity in that case does work. So, good for us. So this is the XR image that you can download from Cisco Viral. So apparently that is supported here. So that's how you do local switching. There's really not a whole lot more to it than that. So let's go and test this out another way. So what we're going to go do is I'm going to peel the config off of gig 2 and gig 3, and we're going to do .1q sub interface. So what I'll do is I'll point myself towards CSR7, so 5 and 6 form a pairing with each other. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to go to do show run L2VPN, and we're going to type in no L2VPN and just commit it, and then we're going to go to interface gig 0/0/0/0/2, and then pardon me, we'll type in no L2 transport, and we'll commit this, and then we need to create a sub interface. So we'll hit the up arrow and we'll go to .10, and we'll type in L2 transport. It's I think I have to do, that's right, it's when you create this you have to specify L2 out here, L2 transport, and hit the enter key, and then underneath here you specify the encapsulation is going to be .1q, and then the encapsulation that you're going to specify will be, in this case here, will be 10. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to commit that. So do show IP interface brief, we can see do show IP interface brief, and there it is. So now what I'm going to go do is on CSR7, go to global config, interface gig 3, no shut it. We'll do a service instance to 10 and then Ethernet. The encapsulation .1q will be 10. We're going to exit out of that, and then we're going to go to we'll say interface pseudowire 10. We'll type encapsulation as MPLS, then the neighbor is going to be, in this case here, will be 10.0.0.10 with a VC ID of 10, and hit the enter key, and then we'll take care of that, and then we'll type in L2VPN Xconnect context, and we're going to give this guy a point-to-point VLAN, iOS, and XR, and then underneath here we're going to type in the member of gig 3 service instance 10, and then a member of pseudowire 10, and hit the enter key. We're going to go ahead and exit out of that, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to XR10. I'm going to exit out of here. I'm actually going to drop out of global config and debug L2VPN, and we're going to say xconnect and do that. Then we're going to do, there should be, let's see what other options we have here. That looks like all the things that I can do. That should be good enough. we'll debug L2VPN. We'll see what actually happens. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up underneath here. I'll type in L2VPN. We'll type in Xconnect, and then the group is going to be, we'll type in, it's going to be point to point, and then it'll be, what did I configure on 7? Point to point, VLAN iOS XR. So we'll just do the same thing over here. It'll be VLAN iOS XR. Underneath here, we're going to type in point to point, and then the word is going to be point to point, and then we're going to specify the neighbor. In this case here will be 10.0.0.7 with a pseudo wire ID of 10 and an encapsulation with, that should be all I have to type in there, and then we'll exit out here, and then we're going to specify that the interface is going to be gig 00002.10 and hit the enter key, and that should be all we have to worry about. So let's do a quick show config. So that should be all we need to worry about there. I'm going to actually go ahead and debug Xconnect and event, and debug L2VPN Xconnect. It's the same configuration in that case. So on 10, I'm going to go ahead and commit this. And so we can see that the communication is going back and forth. And it's a fair amount of config. Let me go ahead and stretch this out just a little bit more. And on 7, we can see that the connection, let's do a show L2VPN, Atom, and BC. And currently we're down. We'll give that a couple more minutes to do its thing. There's usually a lot of config, a lot of output on the XR side. It's doing a lot of debugging. Alright, so let's do a show L2VPN and then Xconnect, and then we'll do let me undebug all. That was a lot of output. So let's see here. Let's take a look at this again. And it is currently down. The connection to 7 is down. So let's do a show IP route. Show MPLS forwarding table. Okay, pseudo wire is up. So it is a pop, so it is allocating a connection to it, which is good. That all seems to be working the way that it's supposed to be. So let's take a look at this in a little more detail. So currently we are down. I've ran into this problem in the past where if you try to do it based off VLAN, it doesn't work quite well. So let me just double check this. Show IP interface brief. Show run interface gig 3. Okay, show run section L2VPN. Make sure that I didn't overlook anything. Show Xconnect context, or show Xconnect all. Okay. Instead of doing a VLAN based, let's go adjust this a little bit, and we'll say that the do show run interface gig 3, we will come in here, and I'll come in here and just type encapsulation default. And on XR10, I will show run L2VPN, and what we'll do is we'll type in, I will actually nix this right here, and type in no, commit that, we'll exit out, and we'll type in no, and we'll pull this command out, commit that, do show run, or do show IP interface brief, and then interface gig 00002 L2 transport, and commit that, and then do show run L2VPN. We'll go back underneath here and we'll type in interface is going to be gig 00002 and commit. There. Okay, now it popped up. You can see that the pseudo wire popped up right away, and we can see that it's actually, it looks like it's going to work this time. Yes, there it is. So if we were to jump out of global config and do a, there it is, now it's up. So we have that going for us, which is a good sign. So now it's a matter of going to, let's go back to 6, and we're going to do a show IP interface brief. We're going to go to interface gig 00 here, and we'll type in IP address is going to be 10.5.6.6/24, and then we'll go to R5, go to global config, host name is going to be R5, interface gig 0/0, IP address is going to be 10.5.6.5/24. And now we're going to do a ping to 10.5.6.6, and we're going to repeat it like 100 times. I don't expect this to work. So we're going to go back over to router 6, and so we'll do a show ARP. That's what I was suspecting. So the ping will work here. So basically what's happening now is you're attempting to build a bridge. If we go to CSR 7, we do a show MPLS forwarding. We can see that there's a layer 2 circuit here, and if we show L2VPN, L2, let's see, Atom, and we look at VC, and we look at the detail, we can see that there's a lot going on here, and we can see labels have been associated, and everything's working back to back, which is good. And if we come back over here to XR10, and we show L2VPN, and we say Xconnect, and we have a couple of different options here. If we hit the enter key, we can see that it's up, but if we type in detail, it gives us a lot of information, which is definitely useful. But you'll notice that there's no packets being sent or received. We go over to CSR 7, we can see we're receiving traffic, but we're not sending it. Output packets are, I'm sorry, the transmit counter is trying to send information. So if we were to do a trace, for example, trace route to 10.0.0.7, I'm sorry, 10, sourcing from loopback 0 numerically, we're going out the connection towards 6. So what you'll find is if we were to go to, let's go to global config and interface gig 2 and type in the IP OSPF cost is going to be 100. Okay, that's going to force traffic to get redirected. So show MPLS forwarding table. We're going to now force traffic out gig 1. If we do the same trace route again, we're only going to take a simplified path towards, we go up towards router 6 and then down to 10. So now if I was to go to here on 7 and do a capture, it's not going to let me do it. I have to adjust this real quick. But anyway, the point being here is that we know the traffic is supposed to be coming in on XR10. If we look, just nothing's coming in, right? And that's the point, because it's not going to work with the local connectivity because of the fact that there's no real switch on the underneath to take any of this information in. So there's a lot of things we can do that are the same on XR, but unfortunately, because the data plane just isn't there, it's not worth the rigmarole to get it to demonstrate, just to prove that it's not working. So if we go back to 5, we can see that the ping is now done. But the point that we made earlier was the ping worked, and because we were doing layer 2, because it was directly connected. So I'd have to play with this a little bit more on the XR to XR variation. But for the most part, when we go to configure this, the syntax is very similar. So for example, on XR, if we were to go back to 10, go to global config and type in L2VPN, and if we were to bring this up, you'll see a lot of the same capabilities are here. You have the pseudowire class, and we can come in here and just type in pseudowire class. Underneath here, we can specify whatever information we need to. So for example, encapsulation would be MPLS, right? We do this and we type this in. Now we have a whole bunch of other options. So very similar operationally to what we saw in iOS. So that doesn't really go away. So we can add a lot of capabilities here if we wanted to, and things like that if we wanted to add in those features and options. But as it sits right now, that's basically where we're at. Now, if I wanted to do more advanced things, so we have the Xconnect option, right? We can do Xconnect, and we come in here and we type in group of, I don't know, if we wanted to flip over to do VPLS, which is the next direction we're going to be going with. If we were to do VPLS, for example, and then we were to come in here, we wouldn't do point-to-point. We would do multi-point to multi-point. And we'd have to say it's going to be VPLS, for example. And then we would come in here and we have our auto discovery. We have our different the VPN ID. So if we wanted to do VPLS and XR, we could. But the major focus isn't XR. It's the constructs that's built around the platform, which a lot of the same things come into play. If you're looking for a multi-point to multi-point type of connection, which is what VPLS is really doing, then there are ways of doing that. We'll talk about those more in detail, but regardless of how you want to build it out. So for example, if you wanted to go let's get me out of the Xconnect, and let's say we wanted to play around with there is a bridge option here, bridge group, and we were to type in bridge, and we wanted to come in here, we could type in the bridge domain. We could type in domain 1 and come underneath here. We have all the same constructs. You really haven't seen me do this yet in XR because I haven't done it on iOS yet. But you have a lot of the same features. So we could do PBB VPLS. That's an option here. Provider backbone bridging VPLS. If we wanted to get out of here and come up to the top here, we could type in PBB, and we could type in the backbone source MAC, and we can give it a value if we wanted to. And then if we wanted to, we'd have to actually exit out of here, and we'd have to go to eVPN. Under eVPN, we could hit the enter key, and then we could type in all the stuff we want for eVPN. So we have like an EBI, and we could come in here and specify Ethernet virtual interface or VPN ID. We're going to be taking a look at PBB down the road, but for right now, we're focusing on the data plane and the control plane for VPLS, where data plane and control plane are built in the same over the pseudowire, which is what we're going to be using long term. So we're still going to be playing around with some of those features, but I'm not going to focus as heavily on the XR constructs for things that I've already talked about in iOS. So we've already talked about the different capabilities for advanced pseudowire stuff and group switchover and stuff like that. A lot of the same capabilities translate over to XR. So just, what does that stanza look like? Just marry those two together and you're in good shape. So that's pretty much it for this video. We're going to transition out of point-to-point connectivity and over to multi-point to multi-point, or VPLS, where we will have multiple provider edge routers forming connections and things like that. We're going to start off with manual, scale it up, then move into auto discovery and a bunch of other more complicated features and things like that. So until next time, guys, thanks so much for stopping by, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.